Okay, hello to anyone that's watching this. My name is Agus and I play this quite badly. So the idea of this is hopefully to play through a draft and pause it at the point where I've got all the cards and maybe get some feedback on what I was doing at the time and what I can do to improve my game. So if you're watching this and you'd like to leave a comment that sort of talks a bit about what I did right, what I did wrong, that would be amazing. So without waiting any further, let's get on with it. So I'm not normally a big fan of white, so I brought back, though it's interesting, it's probably not my first pick. Creeping Trailblazer, on the other hand, I do like my red-green elementals, so that's probably going to be it. Looking through the rest of the pack, what else do I like? Audacious Thief is good, Agonizing Siphon is good, Vorst Claw fits in nicely to an elementals deck, but usually there's quite a few of them, and then the bow is a good one. I have thought about trying to make the hammer work in the past, but it just doesn't for me, so I think it's the Trailblazer in this case. Wolf Rider Saddle, that's a potentially very good one. Boreal Elemental to make it a proper elementals deck. Winged Words would go nicely with that, but I don't have that yet. Thicket Crasher's pretty decent, it's an elemental and it's giving trample to everything else. But what can I say, I'm a sucker for uncommons and I do like this one, so I think I'm just going to take that. So, what am I thinking here? So of these, Woodland Champion potentially goes well with Wolf Rider Saddle, especially if I can then get Ferocious Pup or the red elemental that makes a couple of copies of itself. Alternatively, Infuriate, decent trick, like that. Netcaster Spider, fantastic flyer defense. Nothing else really jumps out. The land would be nice, but again, I'm not a huge fan of white. The Cutthroat again is quite nice, but not really for the type of deck I normally draft. So out of this lot, again, I'm sort of leaning towards the uncommon one just because I like this, but there's usually loads of copies. I like this, but there's usually a few spiders. This one could be an interesting one to build the deck around, so give that a go. And there's another spider, so I don't think I've let myself down enormously there. It does look like I'm feeding into red-green with something splash at the moment. I do like Blade Brand, do like Bone Splinters, but I don't think I can easily splash black at this point. Actually, who am I kidding? I could easily splash black still, I'm only 3 cards in. But Mammoth Spider does fit with what I'm trying to do, so let's go with that. So, oh, here's a good one. I do like Lavacan Brawler. I can't think of a good reason why I wouldn't take that, so let's just take that and go. So here, yeah, not liking the artifact. Negate, no. Mind Rot, no. Undead Servant, no. Tectonic Rift, no. Really, I think it comes down to Gift of Paradise, Vorst Claw, or Marauder's Axe. Vorst Claw is obviously the top end there, but Gift of Paradise ramps and lets me splash more, so I think I'm going to take that for the moment. Of this lot, there's not much I really want to play, but Seasons of Growth could be quite good, especially if I get something that boosts my creatures, so let's have a look at that. Scorch Spitter or Healer of the Glade. I think play defensively at this point, go more into the green. Oh, now that's a nice one. Heartpiercer Bow or Vorst Claw. I think I'll sort out my top end, especially if I can combine that with one of the tramplers. I think this is the right pick. Heart Piercer Bow I'll try and pick up later. That was a mistake. There's another Vorse Claw. Don't really want a Sentinel. Don't really want the Goblin. Nothing else on here. I mean, I could get one that draws a card, but I think I'll take the other top end and see where I end up with that. There's that Infuriate. I'm very happy to take that. Maniacal Rage, probably taking that, but probably not going to play it because I'm not a huge fan yet. Reckless Airstrike, take down the Flyers. Yeah, I'll sideboard a Tectonic Rift there. I think I'll drop the Maniacal Rage in there as well. And the Bird Grabber. I mean, if I get some Flyers, that could be quite nice, but I'm not likely to get many Flyers with this. That would be lovely if I had a Chandra's Planeswalker, but I don't. So, let's take a look. So there's that Thicket Crasher. That's quite good because it gives my Vorse Claws Trample. Evolving Wilds is nice, gives me more colour fixing. Boreal Elemental's great, but I don't have anything in blue so far. Do I really want to take blue just for that? Probably not. I think I'm just going to take the Trampler. Let's see what happens. And the other thing is, do I want the Reach? Already got the Mammoth Spider. Do I need that? I don't need it, but it does a good synergy with Woodland Champion, and it does Reach. And it's uncommon, and I do like taking uncommons, so yeah, I'll try that. Might regret it. Probably going to have to take out a Vorse Claw. That's nice. That's nice to see. Yeah, I'm definitely taking Overgrowth Elemental here. There's the pup I mentioned earlier. Do I prefer the Chandra's Embercat to that? That's a tricky one. I think I prefer the Embercat at this point because it gets me more mana and it's an elemental, so it matches quite nicely with elemental strategy. And there's another Lavakin Brawler. That's probably, I think that's my pick. Looking at everything else, there's nothing else I particularly want. That would be nice if it wheels around, but yeah, Brawler it is. So I was looking at this top line and I was thinking, oh yeah, I suppose that would be something to splash blue for, but then I got to the bottom line, so Embercat, Rabid Bite and Thicket Crasher, all of which I want. I think I have to take the Thicket Crasher at this point. I've turned one down and it is pretty essential to my win condition. I do need to get some trample out there. It's either that or I need to pick up more Lavakin Brawlers and Goblin Smugglers. Hope that Rabid Bite wheels, I think. This one's the pick. So at this point I'm not very excited about anything that's appeared here. It's either going to be a Cryptic Caves or a Greenwood Sentinel. I guess I'm relatively low down on the number of creatures I've got so far. But I'm not going to play that. Actually, what am I saying? Growth Cycle's right next to it. That's potentially very helpful indeed. I'll take that. Another Thicket Crasher or a Heart Piercer Bow. That is a tricky one. I think go down the Elementals route. Heart Piercer Bow again, very nice, but limited nice. And another Thicket Crasher. Could take a Fire Elemental, could take another Reckless Airstrike. Quite like the idea of another Reckless Airstrike actually. More ability to take down those Flyers, because what I've got to deal with Flyers so far, I've got my Spider, the Howling Giant, which are very much towards the top end, and I've got one Reckless Airstrike down at the bottom end. The only issue is, of course, if I take that and they don't run flyers or artifacts, it's just a completely dead card. So, maybe not. Fire Elemental I don't really like. I'd rather just take another Thicket Crasher to try and guarantee that trample status that I can get for my top end. Now that is interesting. Kind of want that because it's good when they kill things of mine. Kind of want that because it compounds very well, or synergizes very well with itself. Kind of want that because, well, it's another anti-flyer. Kind of want that because it fits the strategy. But I already have 3 of those, so I think I'll rule that out. Do I want this? Because this could be very, very good for cycling back round a couple of things that are likely to die. But that could also be very good just to get a sudden boost by 5/5 later in the game. I think though I'm going to take, again, lean towards the uncommon, take this because it can just let me bring back all sorts of stuff that perhaps they thought was gone for good. I would normally think Gift of Paradise, and that does give me the potential to go a bit more into a third colour, or at all into a third colour in pack 3. Sedge Scorpion is very nice, but yeah, I like the flexibility to go into a different colour if I want to. And already I'm starting to think that that might make sense here. I do like Epicure of Blood, but let's take something for the low end for the moment. It's not good enough to go into black. Healer of the Glade. Gauntlets of Light. I might as well take that. I'm probably not going to play them, but they're uncommon. They add to my gems. Yeah, not playing that. Definitely, well, might see that one played, but that's nice. But there's the one that I was talking about earlier. That is potentially going to work very nicely with Woodland Champion. Pattern Matcher could be very good for picking up those Lavakin Brawlers or Thicket Crashers. What else? Another Growth Cycle. That might wheel. Audacious Thief would be worth splashing black for, but overall I think this is my pick. Elemental, so it fits the overall synergy. If it gets on the board at the same time as Trailblazer, it's very powerful, and it also boosts my Woodland Champion if I get that through. So yeah, I think it's going to be that. I'd love the Pattern Matcher, but don't think about it, I'm not taking that. And here's the Pattern Matcher. So luckily it doesn't look like there's anything in there that I would really want to take instead. Again, I'm just seeing so many of these, and I really do wish I'd started just taking them, because I could have got 4 by now, I think. That would have been quite nice. But let's put the Pattern Matcher into here. So now that's interesting. So I could splash into white for this because it combines very nicely with my top end to get damage in that is going to be very evasive, very difficult to block, and it also draws me a card, which is lovely. Boreal Elemental, again, quite like it, but honestly I think in preference I'd rather take this and combine it with anything down here. Shock is incredible in this format from what I've seen. Heart Piercer Bow. So my concern with Shock is that while it's good, I've turned down Airstrikes, but I don't know. I also like Infuriate. God, there's so much in here I want to take. I think I'm going to play it safe and go with Shock. Maybe this will wheel. Shock almost certainly won't. So yeah, I'll go with that. Well, there's the Sedge Scorpion that I turned down earlier. Could do that. I know people dislike Diamond Knight, but given that almost everything I'm playing is green, this could be pretty decent. Sedge Scorpion's nice. Where am I sitting? Actually, my 3 drops. Only got 4. Well, might as well. It's not an amazing pack. Sedge Scorpion was definitely the pick if I didn't go for this, but I think my top end is enough that I don't really need to value Death Touch as much as normal. We'll see. I might be completely wrong on that one. Someone tell me if I've made a huge mistake. This one's sort of looking like a Marauder's Axe. The other option, potentially a Fathom Fleet Cutthroat, because I do have those little creatures that could cause a bit of damage. I do have these Gifts of Paradise that would allow me to splash. Doesn't give trample, but I should have trample with almost everything by the end of any game. Could also do Violet Dragonfire, because it's like shock, it gets rid of some stuff, it's just a more expensive shock. Fathom Fleet Cutthroat is quite tempting. I think I'm going to play it safe and stick with my colour strategy. Go for a Marauder's Axe. For this one, as much as that synergises with Woodland Champion, I can't turn down a Rabid Bite when I've got so many big creatures and will have to get some of the opponent's stuff out of the way. So I think I'm going to go Rabid Bite. Wolfkin Bond is very nice. Goblin Smuggler is perfect though. Again, another Heartpiercer Bow that I would love to have taken, but I can't turn down a Goblin Smuggler when I've got those Lavakin Brawlers and loads of Elementals. This one looks like a Mammoth Spider to me, another flyer blocker. That's a Growth Cycle. Heartpiercer Bow, I finally get one. Not sure how much use it'll be, but I finally get a Heartpiercer Bow. And another! Do I want that instead of Infuriate? I definitely want that instead of Infuriate, don't I? Yeah, I think so. Well, I'm not going to play any of this, so I might as well take that for the gems. I think I've got enough of those already. Not going to play any of that. Yeah, get rid of Yoked Ox. Goblin Smuggler, another one, that's a gift. Another Heartpiercer Bow as well. That worked out quite nicely, I think. So, where do I sit on this? Well, I've now got all the stuff that I want to play. How on earth do I cut from this? Top end's looking way too busy. I think with the Howling Giant and 2 Mammoth Spiders, I'm possibly over-committed on the anti-flyer defence. So the question is, do I get rid of a Mammoth Spider or a Vorse Claw? Well, I think I get rid of a Mammoth Spider, because I have enough here that, I mean, the Howling Giant definitely synergises very nicely with the Woodland Champion, and the Vorse Claw synergises with the Creeping Trailblazer and the Lavakin Brawler. So I think it's a case of getting rid of one of those. That's potentially going to be very powerful if I can get either a Lavakin Brawler or a Goblin Smuggler out of it. That's potentially very powerful indeed. That synergises really nicely with Woodland Champion, that with Woodland Champion, that with Woodland Champion. Diamond Knight, I'm now thinking it really doesn't fit this strategy at all, so I think I will cut that. Marauder's Axe, again, not powerful enough that I think I want to keep it in. Season of Growth, now this could be very good. If I draw it early, if I draw it late, it's pretty dead. Greenwood Sentinel, I'm not liking the Greenwood Sentinel at all, I must say. I've got enough 2-drops, I think, so I'll just get rid of that. Still got to get rid of 10 cards. This is always the hardest bit for me. I don't know about anyone else, but to me this is really difficult. What on earth do I get rid of at this point? I like everything. Loaming Shaman doesn't really fit that strategy, does it? Should I get rid of those? Probably. Controversial, but the Gifts of Paradise. Is there anything that really requires that? Probably not. The life gain is nice, but I still need to get to 3 mana. What's my likelihood of getting to 3 mana with only 1 colour? Relatively slim. The first time I get to a double colour is right up here at the top end. So I think, although it accelerates my time to get there, do I need 2? Do I even need 1? I suspect I get rid of both. Controversial, but I think I get rid of both here. Someone tell me if I'm making a huge mistake. God, still 7 to go. Season of Growth can go. It's not good enough that I care about it. Growth Cycle, it's nice, but it's no longer integral to the plan because I've got the Smugglers, I've got the Lavakin Brawlers. I think I get rid of the Growth Cycles. They're nice, but they're not nice enough. That's a good ramp. That's good life and it's elemental. Shock's great. That's great against those early flyers. That's potentially a nice little combat trick early, but do I get rid of it for the same reason that I just got rid of the Growth Cycles? Probably not. I'll try and keep that in if I can. I definitely want these, all 3 of them. If I could get all 3 out at the same time, I would be delighted. Maybe just get rid of the Mammoth Spider. I know I said I needed it for the anti-flyer, but this is anti-flyer, this is anti-flyer. These are potentially anti-flyer. Maybe I don't need it. That's my top end anti-flyer. That pretty much shut down most flyers that are there. You know what? I'll try without. We'll see what it looks like. Again, if I've made a huge mistake, please tell me. So, where am I sitting? 18 creatures, 2 instants and 2 sorceries. That's not ridiculous. And of course we've got a golem in there, which is double counted. And then the rest of the bows and what's the other one? Where's the 4th equipment? Where is the 4th equipment? What's going on there? Equipment 4. If anyone knows what that's all about, is it the Wolf Rider saddle? Oh, there we are. Yeah, it is actually equipment. Okay. For some reason, I thought it was an enchantment. Okay. What to get rid of? Do I need Reckless Airstrike if I've got Rabid Bite? Good for getting rid of artifacts. Do I care about artifact hate at this point? Could be nice against the Diamond Knight that someone else has decided to play and goes off early, but it's got limited use apart from that, except against flyers, and I've already got the Shock, the Rabid Bite, and the Heart Piercer bows. I'll get rid of it. I can't help but think that that was a really silly thing to do. That one I definitely don't get rid of. I definitely don't get rid of them. Definitely don't get rid of that. Definitely don't get rid of them. Definitely don't get rid of that. Definitely don't get rid of that. So, at this point, I definitely don't get rid of pretty much everything in my deck. Do I just get rid of the 2 Healers of the Glade and leave it at that? Because I've got a lot of elementals. How many do I have? 13 elementals. Can I do without the life gain from these 2? Probably. Okay, you win. I'll get rid of that. So, what does this now look like? 16 creatures. Seems about right. Maybe I'm a little on the low side, but yeah, 17 lands. Only 2 instants, only 1 sorcery. Plenty of artifacts. I'm sort of thinking that this could do reasonably well. I don't think I've drawn particularly amazing deck. You know, my rares and mythics were not fantastic. But is this the best that I could do with what I've got? So looking at what I've left out, I'm pretty sure I shouldn't be getting this in because it doesn't really have much synergy with much of what I've got in there. It's nice, but it doesn't let me do much that I can't already do. Land Hate is nice, but it's expensive. Healer of the Glade, I do like that, but again, difficult cut, but I think it's the right thing to do. These are great combat tricks, but I can do without them. This is probably the one I miss the most. Is there anything I could take out that would go back in? Or let this go back in? I don't know. Don't think so. Everything that I've now put in feels like it's integral to the overall strategy. With the exception potentially of Thicket Crashers. Do I need 3 of them? Should I get a Season of Growth instead of a Thicket Crasher? How does that feel? Have I just depowered this too much? I don't think so. I think I'm going to try with this and we'll see what it looks like. Thoroughly uninspired name. Well, I'm going to call the video at this. Just in case anyone was wondering, yes, this is my first YouTube video. It's my first time doing any sort of magic in front of an audience. So what I'm hoping is that you might give me some pointers, both on the video and on the drafting. If this is, I don't know, received reasonably well, then I'll try and put up another video, maybe tomorrow, showing the actual matches. Until then, happy drafting, and well, let me know what you think. Cheers.